Hi, this is Owen Robertson, founder of High Energy Academy, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Hazel Radford. And Hazel is a high energy coach as well as a nutritional therapist. And Hazel actually specializes in helping busy career people and people who are on the go a lot, people who are maybe traveling as part of their work. And I'm really excited to be able to share her message with you today because I think she's got some really awesome distinctions for those of you who are in that position. So thank you so much for joining us, Hazel.
Oh, hi, Owen. It's lovely to be with you today.
Now, I know that you're not sharing this from the perspective, Hazel, of theory. You're someone who's been there, right? You're someone who has been, in fact, still is a busy career person. So, first of all, what led you to this, Hazel? What led you to, decide that you needed to master your own energy? And then what led you to ultimately decide to help other people?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was really lucky as a child. I had high levels of energy and vitality because I grew up on a farm. So I was always outside in nature and just always on the go. So I felt absolutely fantastic. But then I started working in an office, a really lovely family-run place that I enjoyed being in, worked with some fantastic people. But I started to find that the environment, I think it was just such a marked change in environment to being outside all the time, to suddenly being inside all the time and, maybe going to work in the car and then, especially in the winter, going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark. And then, of course, just having half an hour lunch break. It just really started to sap my energy. And I probably didn't even really notice it too much to begin with. It was kind of quite a gradual sort of realization that I just didn't have the same levels of vitality that I was used to experiencing.
Was there like a defining moment where you woke up one morning or you suddenly one moment you're like, wow, I didn't used to feel like this, and if so, what happened? What was the difference for you?
Yeah, sure. I think it was so gradual that I didn't notice it to begin with. But I think when I'd reached such where it was just an effort to go to work in the morning. And, I think I still had enough energy to kind of give my all to my job, but it really was my all. So it
Hmm.
meant that when I got home, I actually had no energy left for anything else. So it really impacted on my social life at a time in my 20s when I wanted to be going out and doing things with my friends. And I kind of almost became a little bit of a standing joke amongst my friends about the fact that by sort of 9, 9:30, I was ready to crawl into bed,
Hmm.
and it just wasn't where I wanted to be. I've kind of always felt ambitious and felt like I have a lot to give, but I guess it just felt like one area of my life was being supported, but the other area of my life, like my social life and my home life, just really wasn't. Yeah, just really wasn't sort of rewarding. So then you kind of end up in that position where it really felt like it was all work and no play, to be honest.
Hmm. Now you've also got children, right? Did that was that the time? Did you resolve your energy issues before you had children, or was that an issue?
Yeah, I'd said I'd started, making some changes. So I
Okay.
started taking a lot closer look at my diet, and that's when I got interested in the nutritional therapy. So, I made some very basic changes, but I still struggled with my work schedule to spend enough time outside and I kind of almost felt like the energy was sapping out of me in the office because it just felt such an unnatural environment with the artificial lighting and all the computers. And I used to get really static and I couldn't understand why I'd get electric shocks off of everything. So,
Oh
so
wow.
kind of, yeah, and I think really suddenly realizing that type of environment wasn't nurturing me and supporting me really led me to look at maybe how I could change my career and also do something that was going to be directly helping people. And helping myself at the same time. So that was kind of quite a big shift for me when I started my nutritional therapy training, and I kind of felt like everything kind of stepped up a gear then. I had a really good first pregnancy, very healthy baby, and that's the point where I left my job and started building up my own business. But I think that depletion really showed itself when I then tried for another baby, and unfortunately I had 5 miscarriages, and I think it was just because I got so depleted and I hadn't actually stopped and given myself a chance to kind of recharge and build those reserves back up. So I had got to the point really where I'd given up. So and my son was at school by this time, so I was able to take a little bit of time out and really kind of get back outside into nature, because that's where ultimately I feel really happy, and started getting more exercise and really being consistent with my juicing and my green smoothies, and that's where I found I got to a really good place, and then my next pregnancy was successful. So that was just, for me, just such an awesome change to go from being, so depleted and struggling to provide a sibling for my child to really kind of having that second baby, which I so desperately wanted.
Oh, that's lovely. And I know a lot of people may not even see the connection there between not being able to have another child and being depleted. But of course, that's what, from an Eastern perspective, that would make perfect sense. And that's exactly what was true for you in your experience, right? I guess it even makes sense from a Western perspective, right? You need a lot of nutrients to give to a baby. And if you just depleted them, you don't have them to give, right?
No, that's right. That's right. And of course, each subsequent one just, took that little bit more out of me. So really, I should have at some point, I should have stopped and taken stock and really taken time to sort of nourish myself. But I really kind of got caught up in a whole sort of vicious circle of, being concerned about age gap and my own age, and I must get on with it, and for goodness sake, what's wrong with me anyway, because I'm eating a healthy diet. So there was kind of quite a lot of emotions going on there.
Now, you say you had a significant benefit from eating a healthy diet, but as a lot of people discover, that there's more to it than that, right? When did you make that kind of discovery?
I think it was just realizing that having a good healthy diet and keeping my blood sugar levels balanced really helped me on a sort of day-to-day basis. But as soon as any kind of crisis came up, so any trauma or any emotional stress or any of the other challenges that we have to deal with, I just found that I just didn't have the reserves to deal with them, and they would send me back, and they would maybe send me back into perhaps old eating habits, from childhood, that kind of whole comfort eating thing, and then of course you kind of get further down with your energy levels, so you kind of got to climb that little bit higher to get out. So in some ways that experience has really helped me to connect a lot with my clients, because I think that's a lot of things that a lot of people struggle with, until you are able to make consistent action and really make things such an integral part of your lifestyle and really build up those levels of depletion, that's always the risk that you're always going to kind of fall back again.
And so at what point did you really get this thing about the reserves fully handled?
Well, after I had my second baby, I did feel quite depleted then, and that's when I first connected with you, because even though I knew a lot of what I needed to do, I just really wanted that level of support and someone that was just going to make things simple for me, because I was just so overwhelmed with the lack of sleep. So that's when I first got in touch with you, and then of course heard about the High Energy Academy when that was launched last year. So I was at a point then when I really wanted to kind of dig a bit deeper really, and just get a greater understanding. And for me, with my nutritional therapy background, oh, I really wanted to get going on the nutrition side and the blood sugar, and just to kind of learn more and enhance what I was already doing on those things. But of course, that didn't come along until module 8, so it was a real test of my kind of having to be patient really and let things unfold in the way that they were supposed to unfold, because of course you did it in a very particular way, so it wasn't just something that was just kind of shuffled together and that's the order it was in. It was because each step built on the step before, and I think for me it was like getting all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. So I'd already got quite a big piece of the jigsaw puzzle and was making the picture, but it was really trying to put all those other steps in first. So learning more about how to be present and how to get off my head, and for me that was a big thing that I had to do. A lot of my stress took place in my head, and it was trying to get myself out of that. And then of course what really helped that was with the breathing practices, and of course that's something in the past I've never had the patience to do breathing practices, and meditation, how can I meditate when my head is so full of stuff? So really to actually take time to understand why it's so important and to do it and to experience the benefit of it was fantastic. And then the other things like learning about true hydration, so it's not just drinking enough water, but it's making sure it's the right quality water, and you've got the other raw materials in place, so the electrolytes and the balance of the good fat. So these are all the really key things that you learn through the process. And then for me as well, really building up those reserves, and I think probably the biggest thing that helped me with that was using the tonic herbs. Because they're so easy to take but so nourishing for the body, and I think that together with the juicing and the other things that I was doing just really enabled me to start getting into a stronger place, where I was able to kind of deal with any sort of outside stresses without it completely throwing me off balance.
That's fantastic and so important. And yeah, I mean, these days I call it adaptive reserve energy, right? Because as much as it's all about having reserves, it's all about being able to adapt to whatever life throws at you. And that's one of the things that makes me so happy when I hear that people have got that result, because it's so empowering, right? You feel so much more confidence when you know that whatever life throws at you, you can handle it.
And you can live your life. I mean, this is how I'm feeling, for once in my life I'm actually sort of living it and experiencing it, and getting back some of that feeling of vitality that I had as a child, because I know a lot of people don't even experience that, but for me to have experienced it and then in some ways have it taken away from me, it's really lovely to think that actually I can get back to that place where I was, because I think so many people just assume that just because of their age and the other factors that they have to carry on feeling the way they feel. It's just a natural part of the aging process, but it really needn't be like that at all. You can absolutely get back to that level of energy and really kind of embrace your life on all sorts of different levels. For me, I kind of know it's worked because I have had a lot of pressures, but I've been able to get through them, and I've been able to deal with them without getting depleted like I would have done in the past. So it's kind of really transformed my life. It's kind of made me feel like I'm probably experiencing my life for the first time, because before I'd put all my energy into my work, but then I'd have nothing for anything else, whereas I kind of feel like I've got more balance in my life now.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. That's fantastic. Well, it sounds amazing, Hazel. You've been through such a journey with it all, and congratulations on having your children, by the way. That's I think quite an achievement as well. So let's look at, as we say, before you were a busy career woman, working as an employee. Now, in fact, you're a busy career woman working on your own business. What kind of advice would you give to people? Let's say, first of all, people in a position of being busy, being busy career people.
Yeah, sure. Well, like I say, that what I learned was the consistent action was the most kind of important thing. So it's really trying to get a routine that you can stick at. I think sometimes people get really carried away and want to do loads of fantastic things, but then find that they can't keep it up. So
Mm.
even if it means just keeping things a little bit simpler for a while, but making sure that you're doing it every day. I think I find that that's what brings about the sort of greatest results, really.
So it's better to do one or even two things consistently every day rather than to try five things this week and 12 things next week. That's what you're saying. So
Yeah,
basically, you just
absolutely.
pick those key things and stick with them. So,
Yeah.
what in your experience, I know you've been doing this a long time, for the busy career person, would they want to pick as their top maybe one, two, three things that they really that you would advise them to be consistent with?
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. I think it's always really important to start the day right well because that gets you into the right mindset for whatever challenges come up during the day. So it's really important to make sure that you're hydrating your body first thing in the morning. So drinking a litre of water first thing is a really fantastic habit to get into, especially because I find a lot of people don't even think about drinking water at that point of the day and then get to work and they're so busy and it just never crosses their mind. I mean, that was certainly the situation that I was in. So to just drink that quantity of water first thing in the morning is absolutely fantastic. And that's the time when your body's able to take up the water and hydrate properly and flush away the toxins. So it's a great start to the day. And then to do some simple breathing and stretching exercises. So my favourite way of doing it, just for simplicity, is a series of exercises called psychocalisthenics, and that brings in
Psycho.
breathing.
um,
Psychocalisthenics. It's a bit of a mouthful, but
okay.
if you Google PCALS, so PCALS,
Okay.
you'll find a lot of information on the internet about it. And the exercises are really easy to learn, but they're just really nice stretching ones. But they're done with a certain type of breath, which just really helps to waken you up and get you in a really positive frame of mind. And then I think when you're in that frame of mind, you're then more conscious about what you're doing. So what you're choosing for breakfast, and kind of sets the pattern then for the rest of the day.
Mm.
So the water and the breathing and the stretching, and of course there's something you can do anywhere. So if you're a busy person and you're traveling, you can just maintain that and keep it up. And once you do it a certain amount of times, and I think is it like 30 days or something, it really becomes an ingrained habit and just so much easier to do because you just do it naturally without kind of thinking about it.
Now, for some
Um,
people who already have a lot to do, that may sound like a big commitment of time. Like, so you do this every day, right? How long does it
yeah.
take you to do?
Well, the drinking of the water, I always make sure that I take the water to bed with me. So I make sure I drink it before I get out of bed
Okay.
because I know once I'm busy and dealing with the children, it kind of it would slide. So I just do it before I get out of bed, and that is just an absolute habit.
Okay.
And even the children know not to drag me out of bed until I've drunk my water. So and then the stretching and the breathing exercises take 10 minutes. So
Okay. So
I
that's
think
not a lot of
sometimes,
time.
yeah, and I think for some people they're so busy that it does seem hard to find 10 minutes. But I think the level of productivity you get from the rest of your day
Mm.
is absolutely worth it.
Yeah, I mean, my main research and study at the moment is still the brain, and there's a lot about how we human beings are evolutionary designed to move, actually throughout the day, let alone for 10 minutes in the morning. And the more that we move, the more that our brain works better, and the more that we are productive, and the more that we are successful. So, and that's my personal experience as well. So I absolutely support that. So really, 10 minutes is the minimum. Really, we need to be
Yeah,
moving at least that
yeah.
as a bare minimum. So that's fantastic. Okay, that's a great little first thing in the morning tip. Psychocalisthenics, PCAL. Is there anything else that you think is one of those you just must do this kind of things that you would like people to be consistent with?
Yeah, sure. So, getting some greens into the diet is really important. So, and that helps to sort of alkalize the body. So again, that's when the body's going to feel most vibrant. You're going to feel most healthy. Think clearly. So, having a fresh vegetable juice would be fantastic. And again, I know a lot of people really struggle with finding the time to do that. But what you could even do is maybe dedicate some time at the weekend, juice a load of stuff really fresh, put it in some bags and freeze it. And then all you've got to do is take out a bag of frozen juice, take it to work, and then you've got it there. So there are always kind of ways around it that, maybe aren't as perfect as drinking it and having it completely fresh, but, it's still better to kind of do these things in a way that's manageable.
And
So having some,
for those who aren't familiar
sorry.
with the concept, what are we talking about here? We're literally talking about putting vegetables in a juicer. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's right. So vegetables as opposed to fruit, because of course when I first came into juicing about 20 years ago, the old classic was a lovely combination of carrot and apple, which tastes absolutely divine, but is way too high in sugars. So the idea is that your juice should predominantly be the vegetables that grow above ground. So they're the ones that are really rich in minerals, and if you put some greens in there as well, so spinach or cabbage or kale or broccoli, that's very detoxifying and alkalizing and nourishing. So it's really kind of, I like to think of someone's health in terms of a bank account, and it's so easy to go overdrawn just by living a really busy, hectic, stressful lifestyle. And I think juicing is a really good way of getting some savings into that bank health account and starting to build up some reserves. And of course, you can take a myriad of supplements, but I don't think we're so clever that we know how to synthesize everything in a laboratory. So, the idea is that you're getting it in a natural format so the body knows what to do with it. And really, I think that the juicer is kind of doing the work of, this part of your digestive system. So you're just making it easy for your body to get to that nutrition and for your body to absorb it and utilize it.
That's excellent. And for those who actually, like me, are thinking right now, kale juice, is there a slightly more user-friendly version that you can recommend to people that's less maybe hardcore?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly. I mean, my kind of favorite basic juice really is to juice some celery and cucumber. If you do want to put some greens in, spinach is one of the more milder ones to go for, so you can disguise that.
Okay.
And then I find if you put some lemon in your juice, the lemon really kind of cuts through the veggie taste. And then, if you're really new to juicing, you can always add a kind of one sweeter element, so maybe an apple or one pear or one piece of carrot, and that just sort of balances the flavour. So I always find that that's a nice one to really start people on as an introduction into juicing.
Wonderful. Okay, that sounds fantastic. I think that sounds doable for everyone who's committed to getting their reserves back again. That's fantastic. Okay, so that's three awesome tips, things to do consistently, right? Can you share with us,
Yeah.
Hazel, like, is there ever a day when you don't do this? And I'm not trying to catch you out here, but I'm just wondering, like, I noticed the difference for occasionally when I don't do my morning routine. Like I remember when I flew over here, for instance, I didn't do it because it's like waking up at 4 in the morning and then traveling to the airport or whatever. Maybe that's not such a great example because I was also waking up at 4 in the morning. But do you ever have those times where you don't end up being able to do it? And what's the difference between how you feel from when you do those few simple things and when you don't do them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have those times that catch us out, and for me, it's probably maybe when the children are ill. Recently, a
Mm,
couple of weeks ago, they both had tummy bugs, and it was kind of all hands on deck trying to deal with them. So my routine did slide, and I just found it really hard to kind of claim my energy for myself during the day. So, I did manage to do a juice later in the day when I had some more time, and that kind of, brought me back into a good sort of balance again. But there are always times where things crop up, and then you really just have to do the best you can, and then start again the next day, because we have so many things in life to feel guilty about, and that's such a sort of negative thing. So sometimes you just have to do the best you can, and then just start again the next day.
I love that. I love that attitude. I think a lot of people are like, if I don't do it perfectly every day, then I may as well just give up forever. I'm like, no. If you mess up one day, don't worry about it. Just start again the next day. It's totally right.
Absolutely, and you just build on it, don't you? And because I think as well, when things don't go as well, it's a really good way of learning that actually, I do feel really good when things are following the right sort of routine. So I think that's an extra motivator to enable you to keep up with doing it. So you're learning from your own experience rather than someone just telling you that that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, you got to learn from experience. Absolutely. I know for me, when I don't do my morning routine, I feel okay, but I find that at some point in the day, I'm far more likely to be knocked off balance than if I didn't. I can just go straight into the day anyway. But then later, if something maybe challenging happens, I'm far less likely to be able to just go with the flow and adapt to it, and I'm more likely to be upset or frustrated or something by it. So, I think it's always important, no matter where you're at, even if you've been doing this a while, like we have. So the next thing I want to ask you about, Hazel, which is something that I, to be honest, still do struggle with, and that's travel. So for everyone watching right now who is a busy career person, and that takes them on, for instance, I've had clients before who are rock stars, who like are constantly on the move and constantly traveling, and then of course it's really important for them to have high levels of energy, because if they don't, that shows up on stage, and everything depends on that. And of course,
sure.
So, and that's obviously an extreme example, but even if you're not a rock star, what do you do if you need to be traveling a lot? Because it can seem all the harder to have that routine, right? Maybe you don't have a juicer, right? So what do you do? So do you have some kind of recommendations for that?
Yeah, sure. Because it is really important to keep as much going as you can whilst you're travelling, if you're travelling a lot, because otherwise that can soon be 25% of your time or 50% of your time. So if you're only doing things really well whilst you're at home, you're still not going to build up those reserves and get to a point where you experience that high level of energy, because you're still not doing it all of the time and doing it consistently. So again, that morning routine of the water, the breathing, the stretching is really fantastic. You can do that anywhere, and that's kind of completely free. So with regards to the rest of the day, I think it's really just being as kind of planned as possible. So trying to take things with you rather than having to rely on what you can find. And, for a lot of people, having stashes in their car or in their briefcase or their handbag, and there are certain things that you can prepare in advance or make sure that you've always got lying around. So obviously all the very easy kind of dehydrated stuff like the nuts and the seeds, and maybe some superfoods like mulberries and Incan berries and bee pollen. If people can't do juicing, then it can be useful to take some green powders with you. So you can get these really readily available in health food stores these days. So it could be something like wheatgrass or barley grass or a mixture of different things. But adding that to the water can really just help with the sort of energy levels. And you still need to get the plain water in to properly hydrate the body. But then as an extra, just to have a green powder juice on the go is going to be better than nothing. I mean, of course, it doesn't have the same vitality as doing it fresh, but it's an easy thing to carry with you. And then I really like to make some superfood chocolate, because that's something that you can make in advance, make in a big quantity, and it keeps really well, and it's a good way of making friends as well. And the superfood chocolate is basically a base of coconut butter and cocoa butter. And coconut butter is really good for giving you kind of quite a long-lasting energy. So useful if your meals are maybe a little bit irregular. And then it's got goji berries in it, and they contain a type of sugar called a polysaccharide, which is a very complex sugar. So it kind of adds a little bit of interest and a tiny bit of sweetness without having a detrimental effect on your blood sugar levels.
Hmm.
And then you put some bee pollen in it, and bee pollen is actually really nutritious, a very good source of protein. And then the actual base of it is a superfood powder, which you can get from Lionheart Herbs. And it contains a mixture of, good plug for you there, Owen.
Yeah, thank you.
It contains lots of tonic herbs, which are helpful for your immune system. And of course, your immune system is one thing that can be affected quite badly when you're traveling a lot. And the chocolate flavour comes from carob. So it doesn't have a stimulating effect on the body. So you get all the lovely flavour without the bad side effects. And in fact, if you Google Hazel Radford and superfood chocolate on YouTube, I demonstrate making it, so you can see how easy it is to do. So that's one of my favourite things. And another thing that I like to take with me is some of the tonic teas. So my particular favourite for myself is the Rejuvenate tonic tea, because again it's very small and compact, and that really helps to give me a lift, the same sort of energy lift that you might have got in the past from maybe a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So you get a bit of a lift, but again, it's replenishing your stores and it's nourishing you.
Excellent. Yeah, and I completely agree with that, Rejuvenate. And I love having Rejuvenate as well, especially if you're doing plane journeys, because it's quite a hydrating herbal mixture. And again, that's from Lionheart Herbs, on a cellular level. So there's something about air travel that really dries you out, right? So
Yeah, sure.
love Rejuvenate for that particular purpose as well. Okay, so that's a fantastic combination of recommendations. I think I follow all them already. So
Well done.
I'm in complete alignment and agreement with that. But I guess I should do, considering that I'm teaching this. Yeah, and there's nothing to make nothing better to make new friends than bringing superfood chocolate with you, in my experience. So that's a really good recommendation. And just to be clear, you kind of outlined a whole recipe there, but we're not expecting anyone to make this while they're on the move, right? This isn't something that you make while you're traveling. This is something that you make before you leave, and then it's something that can last for weeks if necessary, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's just a useful thing to kind of always have in your fridge at home. But yes, the whole idea really is you just make it in bulk, and then you're just ready to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for sharing your advice. That's really amazing. And I really, really appreciate you sharing your perspective on all this. For all of you watching, if you want to check out Hazel's instructional videos, I think she's got one on making juice as well. You can just go to Hazel Radford on YouTube and you can see her demonstrating there and then how to do these things that she's talking about. Isn't that handy? So thank you so much for sharing this with us, Hazel. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's lovely to talk to you.
And for all of you watching right now, if you are interested in High Energy Academy, if you are interested in learning about how to be a high energy coach, you've got to go through High Energy Academy first, right? I'm not having anyone training about energy who isn't already a picture of high energy like Hazel, like everyone who I've been interviewing here. So you've got to do High Energy Academy first. The way to do it is there's going to be a button, I think, below, or maybe a little line of text just saying here, click here. So if you want to go for that, then that's the place to do it. Other than that, follow through on Hazel's advice. It's diamond advice, right? Consistency is more important than being perfect or trying to do a million things.